The Lord's Supper. Remember, reflect, rejoice. Sten Johannesson. Copyright Sten Johannesson, 2025. All rights reserved. Comments and inquiries can be sent to sten.j.books@gmail.com. The author's purpose in this study is both to learn and to teach biblical truths versus human traditions concerning the Lord's Supper, with the aim of promoting unity and heartfelt worship that honors and pleases God. Preface. Often we find ourselves overcomplicating matters. The Pharisees did not set out to create hundreds of regulations to clarify Old Testament laws, yet that is precisely what happened. Jesus consistently and forcefully criticized them for missing the true essence of the law. It is worth reflecting on whether we might unintentionally fall into similar patterns. Jesus demonstrated remarkable simplicity by summarizing the law into just 2 commands. When he instituted the Lord's Supper, he chose the simplest items at hand, a piece of bread and a cup of wine, and invited his followers to partake in what was to become a remembrance of him. In the years that followed, the disciples faithfully preserved this simple ritual. Even decades later, Paul described the same fundamental custom. However, by the next century, human traditions began to infiltrate it. These new practices were adopted by the state church and later denominations. The communal meal lost its original sense of simplicity. It evolved from informal and intimate to formal and religious. Only specific individuals could distribute the bread and wine, and sometimes ordinary believers were even excluded from participating. Though certain traditions may have been introduced with sincere intentions, many of these practices risk obscuring the straightforward beauty of the Last Supper. This is the legacy from which we emerged. Even in Restoration churches today, traditions are more numerous than in the first-century church. Why do we feel compelled to add layers of tradition to practices once so simple and meaningful? We might even find ourselves debating what makes for a good communion speech. This raises a question worth considering. What role, if any, should a communion speech play? What is communion, and what was the original intent? By reflecting on such questions, we might move closer to the heart of the communion. In the chapters that follow, we will carefully examine the biblical foundations of the Lord's Supper, consider its historical development, and explore its rich meaning and significance. We will address the most common questions that arise, including why, how, what, when, and how often it is observed.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?